We're going to do this first hour of Anything Goes Q&A. If you have a question, a comment, a topic, go ahead and jump in right now. If you are listening live on letstruck.com or our new affiliate, TNC Radio, give us a call, 855-950-3835. Looks like everything's working. Then after the first hour, as long as our technology holds up, we will take a break. We'll come back. You'll have to re-dial in for questions, but we will open it up for Destination Health. We're going to start adding shows as we can. I know we're kind of pushing the technology issue a little bit, but we want to get back on the air. We're getting a lot of requests, and I want to thank everybody for their support as well. All right, so let's take the test to the next level. Let's see if we can get a caller on with us. We're going to head off to Texas. Eric, welcome to the program.
You were sounding good the whole time. Actually, it sounds like you've got a new microphone.
We are.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're back to my broadcast headset, so I'm hoping it does sound better.
Okay, so what was happening before was you would turn your head to look at your computer screen or take a note, and you'd get quiet, and it would sound kind of tinny. And then when you turn your head back, you'd get a lot of bass, like your normal voice. It sounded really good. That was previous, but you sound really good today.
Good. So what we figured out was, believe it or not, that was actually just a Blue Parrot headset through my phone. It was the quickest way to get back up and on the air. And they're so noise canceling that, like you said, if you just, even though it's a headset and the thing's right in front of your mouth, if I just turned a little bit, you'd lose that much volume. Plus, the sound quality just wasn't that great. So I think we're up and running. You sound good. And I think we got it for now. We'll see.
Outstanding. So you had a caller Friday that called in and said that you don't get the voltage drop on a start module like you do on batteries. And he is absolutely correct. And this is the reason why. Capacitors put out at a high voltage, higher than a normal battery, and it puts out all voltage until it's completely dead at the set voltage that it puts out. The Maxwell start module charges between 10 and 18 volts and puts out at 16.4. The Skell start puts out at 17.1 volts.
So when we say there's no voltage drop, maybe we're just talking past each other a little bit. I think what you just said makes sense to me now. So let's say either one of them crank for 30 seconds. What you're saying is that whole 30 seconds, I'll get that voltage, and then when it cuts off, it just cuts off completely.
It cuts.
Is that
yes,
right?
With the capacitor, it'll cut off completely. With a battery bank, it'll start off at 12.4 volts, and then go 12.2, and then
right,
and then 12,
right,
and then 11.8, and then 7, 6, 5. That's how that works. But I got some other information about. I got some other information here that I found kind of interesting. Searching through prepper sites and people that are trying to be off grid about capacitors. People are actually using audio capacitors, and now they make them in a Group 31 size. For amplifiers to take care of the initial load. So you know that a refrigerator doesn't use much power while it's running.
Right.
All the power that it uses is during that motor start. And motor starts with low voltage are hard on motors, and it's also hard on batteries. So what these preppers are doing is they're taking a 2-post capacitor, not a 3-post like the Maxwell or the Skell start.
That third post is the isolator, right?
Well, what that third post is yes, that third post is an isolator. So
Okay.
the Maxwell Start module and the Skell Start have a charging isolator that only allows it to draw 10 amps. So that's all it will draw
Okay.
off of your regular batteries. It's just 10 amps.
And
audio.
then I just want to ask because I want to make sure I'm understanding this. So it's actually kind of a limiter. It limits the draw to 10 amps, and it stops the flow the other direction, right?
Yes, it does. And when it
Okay.
when it limits the flow to 10 amps, it also has to lower the voltage. So the voltage going into the capacitors is not the 12.4 or 14.1 volts that you're putting out for your batteries or your alternator. That's not what's going into it. That's what's going into that little post, and then that little post isolates it down to 10 amps. You know, it's trying to draw absolutely everything that it possibly can. Like we talked about Ohm's law before. It's going to draw everything that it can, and it might be 250 amps. Some batteries are not going to last with 250 amps. So what it does, it limits it down to 10 amps, and then it charges the capacitors at like 3 to 5 volts.
Okay, so
and then
we're talking similar to like a trickle charger, and I have a trickle charger where I can actually set the amperage all the way down to like 1 or 2, I think. So that's kind of the same thing we're talking about here. We're limiting the amperage because that is a better way to charge the batteries, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Now its output on the other side, depending on which model you have. Like I said, the Skell Start is 17.1. The Maxwell Start module is 16.4. It puts out a full 16.4 volts at its maximum amperage. Everything that the starter is wanting to use. If the starter had more drag to it, your start module will go dead faster, and it would put out a higher amperage. Amperage cannot be limited, so that's why you've got that third number on that start module.
That makes sense.
What these preppers are doing is they're taking their house batteries and they're using like AD batteries. 8D batteries, or they're using, which is the great big battery like you've got in your Coach, or Group 31, which most of them are using Group 31 because they're cheap. So
and easier to get.
Oh yeah, way easier. Yeah, you go to any store and you can buy one. You can buy one at Walmart. So they put their battery bank together, and then the thing that's using the power the most, their 12-volt refrigerator, actual refrigerator like we have in a truck. They will run their wires to the refrigerator, and just prior to the refrigerator, they will take and put a capacitor in there. And they're using these Group 31 car audio capacitors. The same size as a truck battery, in order to do the hard starts, the things that take the most amount of power to start, but don't necessarily take the power to last. And what that's doing is that's adding 3 times the normal life of those regular Group 3 times the normal life of the regular Group 31 AGM batteries.
You're kidding me. That's incredible.
These batteries are lasting 12 to 15 years.
Wow. That's incredible. And I'll tell you, I wanted to replace the house batteries because they're about 4 years old. They're not really performing all that well on this trip. It's been cold. I haven't been plugging in a lot, so I was trying to depend on the inverter and the batteries, and I ended up running my generator most of the night on those really cold nights. So I'm at Pittsburgh Power. I thought, they must have a good battery distributor. I'll go price these things. The last time I replaced them, back at the factory shop where I always get my work done, I have 6 of those 8Ds. Batteries, delivery, installation, everything was right around $4,000. We just went and just priced the batteries themselves and almost $6,000 without shipping or installation.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Now those 8D batteries, they're about 3 times the size of a Group 31, but you can't quite put a Group 31 sideways in that hole, so you would have to modify the hole completely in order to convert over to Group 31.
Yeah, I know. And my thought was, at these kind of prices, I'm wondering what I could do with something like lithium ion if I'm going to be spending this much money.
Right, or phosphate, iron phosphate.
Yeah, maybe even phosphate. Yeah. So
yeah, $6,000. I think. Well, like I said, you might have to do a little bit of cutting and some change, and battery sizes are going to be a little bit different, but it might be well worth it. But what are the greatest draws? What are the greatest draws on your motorhome there, the Coach? You've got the starter itself, right?
Well, no, because I have 6 house batteries in that size, but I also have 2 of those 8D batteries for starter batteries. So those are my starter batteries are separate from my house batteries. So I have 2 more of the 8Ds for a starter, and I just replaced those before this trip, so they're good. So my biggest draws, I do have a full-size residential refrigerator. I have a washer-dryer unit. It's one unit. You put your clothes in dirty, and they come out clean and dry. I should probably look up what kind of draw that thing has. I've got electric heated floors. I think I've checked. They draw like 8 or 9 amps when they're on. Microwave coffee makers are usually pretty hard on that, initial heating. That's probably it. All the lighting is 12 volt. All the, fans and that kind of stuff's 12 volt. So those are probably the biggest draws.
You could probably get away with about 4 of the car audio size capacitors, and the Group 31 capacitors for car audio. You could probably get away with 4, putting 1 in your kitchen, and then the 3 that run to the other things like the washer and the dryer. You'd probably want to put 2 on it, and then 1 for the actual starter itself. 9 amps, I don't think I would worry about that for the floor. But they're only like $340 a piece.
Wow. And if they really increase the life like that, that's incredible.
They are a 2-post though.
Okay.
Now I haven't checked. I haven't tested it yet. I'm gonna test it on this truck. I'm gonna buy one, and I'm gonna run a wire directly from it to the starter. But of course, it's gonna, run straight across to my batteries also. So the batteries will get just a little bit of draw, but mostly it should turn over the truck substantially faster.
Interesting. Yeah.
We're gonna give it a shot.
The last time I checked into the Tesla wall, the home wall, when it first came out, it had a certain capacity, and it was about $5,000. And I actually put in, contact me when this is available. Nobody ever called me. Then a year or 2 later, they released their second generation, and they said the capacity doubled, and so did the price. It was about $10,000. I haven't checked in a couple of years, actually. I think it's been almost 2 years. But if I'm going to spend $6,000, if I could get a Tesla wall for $1,000 or $10,000, I'd think about buying one and trying to put it in
there. The Gen 1 weighed 1,200 pounds. The Gen 2 weighs like 8.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that was a difference. And honestly, it when you're putting it in, it's an issue. But once it's in, I could care less about weight in this thing.
Right. Yeah. Put it low and roll with it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I may go back and look into that again if these batteries are that expensive. And boy, think about all the cabling I'd save.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do a little bit of testing with that car audio capacitor and see if it works. If it works, that might be a little bit of a solution. It's not going to turn over like a Maxwell Start module would, because you're going to draw your output voltage is going to be like 13 volts, but you're also going to be down on voltage on your other three batteries that are connected with it, because it's not isolated by itself.
Got it.
But it should lower that initial draw substantially.
Hey, while you started this because you found this with the preppers, which isn't unusual. There's some pretty creative people in groups like that. What's interesting is I keep hearing on mainstream media, they are putting out constant warnings about cyber attack threats from Russia. And I don't know if anybody's paying attention or if they understand what that could mean, but I'll go back to all the things I've said about prepping. The first thing a lot of people need to realize is you better have cash. And I don't mean cash in the bank. I mean physical dollar bills that you can put your hands on. Right. And the good news is, since interest rates are so ridiculously low, there's really not a lot of point in having any of your cash in the bank right now. So get a safe, even if you had to use a safe deposit box at the bank, you got to hope the bank doesn't close for some reason. But so if you could do it at home, a gun safe is a great place. A lot of people have gun safes. You stick some cash in there. And when I say some cash, I mean probably as much as you have access to.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably as much as you have access to, and 10,000 would not be too much. What good is it doing you sitting in the bank earning nothing, and if something happens, you can't get it? And they could attack two different ways that would cause that. They could attack the financial system directly, and we know they can do it, and they'll shut down banks, and nobody will know what their account balances are, and you won't be able to withdraw. Or we know they can attack the electric grid, which would also put down the entire financial system, and you wouldn't have power. So we absolutely know they have been in both of those systems, and they're capable. I think the only thing that's stopping that lunatic is maybe he's worried about retaliation. But if this keeps getting worse, he may not worry about it. He may just launch something, and I really hope people are prepared.
Speaking of shutdowns, did you hear about that newest city in China that just got locked down? I think it's pronounced Shaysun.
I saw something, but I've had so much going on. All I saw was a headline. I really didn't stop to read it. What's all that about?
Oh, well, I don't know. I was walking to use the restroom this morning at 2:00 in the morning, and walked past a TV in the driver's lounge of a Flying J, and it was all over. All kinds
That's
of
not good.
And I didn't have a whole lot of time, but yeah, they're locking it completely down.
Yeah, I heard it was caused by some new big outbreak, COVID outbreak of all things. But China, all throughout this, they claim like they have 2 deaths a day. Yeah, right. You got 1 billion people and you're claiming like nobody's dying from COVID in your country. So I think it must be pretty bad if we're actually hearing about it, because they try as hard as they can to cover that kind of stuff up.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to let you get back at it. Like I said,
all right.
Your headset sounds way better than it did, so maybe that'll kind of make the sound a little more even most of the time, because most of the time I was running the volume up and down because my wife is over here working.
Yeah, so here was the issue there. One, my quality was horrible with that headset, so we knew that was a problem. Where now I'm on a broadcast headset, so that helps. But the other thing now is I ran all over Pittsburgh all weekend long, grabbing equipment. So I got to a Guitar Center, so I have a physical mixer. So now I have individual control. Like just a second ago, Aaron said, bring the caller audio up just a little bit because it was a little low, and now I'm able to do that. So now I will, and my last setup at Sirius, I had no control over any of that. That was all done at the Sirius studio. So now I've got control of that. So if we get feedback, somebody says, "Oh, that call was too loud," I can just change that on the fly now.
That is awesome. Well, you have a great day.
All right, thanks for the call. Great information, by the way. I love that kind of stuff. All right, we've got lines open. Looks like we have a ton of people listening. Our listener numbers go up every day. We are trying to spread the word a little bit at a time, slowly. Again, we don't want to aggravate everybody with our technical issues, but we have lines open. So if you're listening right now on either platform, give us a call, 855-950-3835. 855-950-3835. We got to start, it seems a little odd, to talk about the websites healthytribe.com or truckingtribe.com, because mostly that's really who we're broadcasting to. I mean, those people know every day what's going on. We're really not promoting the show and the live stream anywhere else right now. But like I said, we brought a new affiliate on, so we do have some listeners out there that are hearing us maybe even for the first time. So I'll give you kind of a rundown. Today, during what we call our free for all hour, you can ask me, well, just about anything. I know that might sound a little weird, but I'll go over the topics that we cover quite a bit, and I guess why we can take those kind of calls. So clearly anything trucking related, engines, transmissions, specs, fuel mileage, maintenance, tires in alignment, anything physically to do with the truck, call me. We have other segments for that as well. Like tomorrow we'll do a show at the Power Hour, and then I have two mechanics and an electrical engineer join me from Pittsburgh Power, and we take calls and questions about maintenance. Think of it like the old NPR show Click and Clack. What was it? The Tappet Brothers. It's that kind of show. Call in, and we'll do our best to troubleshoot you over the air, figure out what your next step should be to solve maintenance problems. If you want to learn about getting better fuel economy, I've been testing and helping people with fuel economy for almost 30 years. We also have Joel Morrow and John Walco that join me on Fridays. Both of those guys have just incredible knowledge of fuel economy. So that's kind of another segment that we do, but you can ask me those questions any day. On Wednesdays, we do a show called Destination Health, where I help drivers really, really learn how to live and eat well on the road. If you're new to the show, get prepared for some pretty incredible testimonials on health. We're pretty proud of that show. We've helped a lot of people, and we want to help a lot more. I am a functional nutritional therapy practitioner, so I have a lot of background in nutrition. I'm also a certified financial planner. Not anymore. Technically, I'm not licensed anymore. I don't keep my license up every year. But I have all the training, passed the exam, worked as a certified financial planner for a couple years. So we can talk about retirement accounts, stock market investing, real estate, financial planning, estate planning, taxes. I actually ran a tax and accounting company for 20-some years. strictly for owner operators and drivers. So all of these things we talk about, all built around the trucking industry and the driver and the owner operator. So I went through that, like I said, because we have a new affiliate we're streaming live with this morning. It's our first test, and I have a feeling a lot of those people may not have ever heard my show before. We're going to grab some calls. Let's go to Wisconsin. Tim, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Doing good. What's on your mind today?
You sound terrific. Whatever you did to the audio, it sounds just like old times, so that's great.
Well, at one point last night and the night before at about 1:30 in the morning, I think if you would have walked in the coach, you would have seen me rolling around on the floor wrapped up with cables like spaghetti. It got so bad for a while, but I think I got it figured out.
Yeah, sounds great. Couple of things. First question is with your internet mobile, how come you never or considered going to Starlink?
I have. I just haven't been able to get one yet. I've been on the list for a long time, and I've had no contact from them at all. Somebody recently said that there's a way to look around the country and see where the lists are shorter and just say, I want one in this area, but ship it to a different address. So we need to look into that, because if somebody would give me one, I would buy it right now. I mean, that's really what we want to get to. And I got to tell you, I was really happy with one of my mobile routers for the first 2 weeks, not quite so happy with the other one. Now, for the last 5 days, well, however long I've been in Pittsburgh, neither one of them are working. They're both throttled back to nothing.
Well, I just got my Starlink Friday, and like you said, I think I had to wait a couple months to get it. You know, they put you on the list, and all of a sudden they tell you, hey, it's shipping, and so I got it, and we don't even have it permanently installed. We have it sitting on the deck, and yeah, it's pretty impressive. I mean, it works really well, decent speeds. Of course, at my age, I had to have the son-in-law come and hook it up. Not that it's difficult, but
no, I get it. Aaron actually just got his, and he loves his too. So we have to figure out how to get one. And if I can't figure it out, I might sneak into Aaron's house at night and steal his or something, because this isn't going to cut it. I've got emails into both of the hotspot companies, and here's the thing: when they work, I love them. Well, it is amazing that I can just, throw the TV on while I'm working if I want. So, kind of can keep my eye on the news during the day. And it was working great. And I don't get it. And it wasn't like I could have run out of any kind of data, because if that were the case, it would have happened in a day of watching TV. And I got a good solid 2 weeks out of the one router with no problems at all. And now all of a sudden, neither one of them will get anything. They're both getting less than a megabit up and down now.
Yeah, but that Starlink, it's pretty impressive. Where I live, we had some options, but boy, that thing for out of the box, it works really well. And I would think that system for would work really well too. So I
think that. When I get off the air today, I've got to move the coach back into Pittsburgh Power. They're going to we've got a whole list of stuff they're going to do. They're going to give me my new performance tune, so I'm excited about that. But I think while they're working on the coach, I may just go work on the Starlink thing and just get this figured out. I just need to, like I said, if somebody had one here, I'd buy it today. I just have to figure out how to get one.
Yeah. Hey, quick thing on the yogurt. I talked to you last week. So that yogurt recipe I was looking for, which I found was for treating that SIBO and syphil. And so I ordered up those bacterias. And but I don't know if you remember, I talked to you about my wife having issue with the dairy. So my next batch I'm going to do it A2 half and half and see if that makes a difference for her.
That's how I make mine. The Alexander Farms A2 half and half works amazing. If you can find that, it comes out rich and thick, and you don't have to strain anything, and taste is really good, and that's just a really clean dairy. And I, throughout my life, I've had issues with certain forms of dairy that kind of mess with my digestion a little bit, and I am eating a ton of this yogurt now and no digest. In fact, my digestion is, I don't know how many times I can keep saying this. I think it's as good as it's going to get, and it actually just got better with the yogurt. So it's pretty incredible.
You know, what'll be interesting, Kevin, is, give yourself 3 to 6 months on that yogurt to see what that does to your uric acid levels, because after reading, all the books, like you told us to read, and in that one book, Dropping Acid, it was an interesting book, but the one thing I thought was kind of interesting that he never expounded on was about the microbiome, because he did go off on that, and then he went in another direction, but I kind of think that's where it's at.
I was actually disappointed in the book. I ordered it way back when. I've been really excited about it. I thought it was going to be a lot of new information, and it really wasn't. There was new information about what uric acid does in the body. So I did learn a little bit about, different functions, different things uric acid does. I didn't really learn any new solutions. If you follow what we talk about on Destination Health and you're eating some sort of a paleo-based diet, you're almost already doing just about everything he was recommending. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I have a lot of people that have been doing that for years, including myself, and some of us still struggle with high uric acid now and then. So I think you're right. I think it is going to come down to the microbiome. And I wish he would have spent more time, or maybe he just can't. I mean, maybe the information just isn't out there yet. And that's why, what we're doing, experimenting with these specific strains and making the yogurt, you're right. I think in 4 to 6 months, we may look at this and say, wow, here's what's happening and it's working. I'm also, I'm thinking while I'm talking here and I'm watching our tech, but I think I'm going to skip doing the Destination Health show today. I have a couple things I want to tweak on the tech. We had that little problem at the beginning I got to figure out. And with all the stuff I need to do on the coach, I think I'm going to skip it today. So what I'm going to do is, while we're talking about it, my open was going to be about the new diet that I developed, wrote, and then never started until this trip. And I kind of planned it that way. When I'm by myself, especially in the coach and traveling, I can eat really, really specific. It's a lot easier. I'm not cooking for anybody else. So I've mentioned it before. I'll throw it out there. We're going to get it published and written up, but basically we're calling it fermented carnivore. I'm really looking at this saying, okay, we know when people eat all animal products, it works really well. It's powerful. They get quick results. It's easy to understand. Then we know that the microbiome is really important, so we want to feed it. And what's the best way to feed it? What if we, fermented foods of all kinds. So now to our carnivore diet, we add any fermented foods you want to eat. I mean, I can't think of any that we wouldn't eat. So any fermented food or beverage, kombucha, kefir, real good yogurt like we're talking about, not the garbage at the store, all the fermented vegetables. Well, I'm even looking at some fermented meat recipes that I might be willing to attempt here soon, fermented seafood. Then on the vegetable side, we could either add starch to feed our microbiome, and if some people can handle starch, that's not a bad way to go. What about the people we really don't want eating any starch? We want to get faster results. Well, if we look at things like leeks, garlic, asparagus, they're loaded with prebiotic fiber. So I'm now saying, look, if you like the flavor of garlic and leek, add it to all of your fermented vegetables. In my opinion, it makes them all taste better. I'd like to add garlic, leek, and jalapeno. And if we start doing that, and we're really only eating animal products and all of our vegetables would be fermented, and we're adding the other fermented foods, I'll give you an early kind of result. Remember when we first started keto, and I still say it now, if I need to do a project, I go deep keto, everything starts to work better. That happened, I think, even more right now. My brain over the last couple of days feels like it's connected to a supercomputer someplace, and they just keep feeding me new ideas and data. It's like, so I don't even want to go to sleep at night. I'm still up running ideas around, making notes, working on things. But then when I do go to sleep, my sleep is also finally improving. It hasn't improved in a year of me working on it. And now all of a sudden, my sleep the quality is getting much better. Not so much the length. I'm still sleeping short. But the quality is so much better. Like I mentioned the other day, I slept 5.5 hours without waking up once. It's like the first time in a year. So I really think this fermented carnivore shows a lot of promise.
Well, if it's any indication, my sleep has been better, and I would attribute that to being on the L-Reuteri now for quite a while. And
right.
I noticed, I mean, it's kind of amazing. I noticed that, boy, a short period of time. And as you said, that Drop Acid book was a little bit disappointing. There was a couple things in there. But, like Dr. Davis said in regards to the microbiome, we're at the infancy stages of that. And, when you go and you check off all the potential things, and there's not much left that you can do, right? I mean, you've pretty much done it all.
Right.
And then,
right.
So then you go, well, maybe this is, as I would say, the fountain of youth, if there's such a thing. And I really believe it. One quick story. My daughter, who's been seeing a functional medicine doctor now for about 9 months, she developed alopecia early on. And anyway, they found that she had a thyroid issue, and was phenomenal. They did very well. So they have her on a prebiotic, and it's kind of funny. So she got diagnosed as having dysbiosis. Now, they didn't say she had SIBO or SIFO, but they said she was dysbiotic. So they gave her a probiotic, and it's probably 10 or 12 things in there, and probably 3/4 of them are that Lactobacillus strain of all these different microbes. And so it's pretty expensive. So our next yogurt batch is going to be that. And
Good.
But it's pretty interesting. I really think, Kevin, I'm up to about 40 books now. Not like you yet, but I really, really think that the microbiome, that is where it's at. And one book I just got and redid was Wheat Belly, but the new version of Wheat Belly, and I gotta say that book is so good. There is so much information. It's probably the best book that was ever written by far.
Health-wise, I am so glad that was one of the first I read, and I have to thank Matt. Matt read it first, recommended it to me, and I was just fascinated by that book the whole time. And I haven't read the new version yet. I might go back and do it, though, because the first one was so good. That really kicked things off. So like I said, I'm glad I read that first. And, I mean, you can kind of tell. I mean, what was my big kick for a long time? If you're only going to do one thing, quit grains. Nothing else will make a bigger difference in your health than quitting grains.
And you know what's funny, Kevin? I don't know. I guess it never clicked in my head. But I never looked at grains as being grass. I always thought they were like a different category. And
I know, me too.
That's what they are. It's eating grass. And, we were never meant to to ever consume grass. Never.
We can't digest it. And cows can. Cows can. Cows'
right.
stomach. But cows have multiple stomachs because it's so hard to digest grass. It's basically the same structure as a tree. I mean, it'd be like us trying to digest tree bark or wood. I mean, it's the same cellulose structure. Because think, a lot of these grasses could actually grow up to a plant that starts to get pretty darn woody. And that's what we're dealing with. But the other thing that interested me was, and you'll remember this from Wheat Belly, but we don't really use this phrase much anymore or talk about it, but I thought it really helped me get the idea. It's not the grass that we even eat. It's the seeds of grasses that are the real problem.
Right, exactly. But it all stems from it being a grass. And the funny thing is that people get confused. We can actually eat grass, but we can't digest it, and that's where people get confused. Cows. I used to deliver feed to farms, so I could tell you stories about what they do on the big farms to get production. But it's funny. You can't believe it, Kevin. But and that's where the fermentation process really is important, because if we can. So you could take these things and ferment them, and guess what? Now we can start pulling some of those nutrients out of that stuff. And again, I mean, like Dr. Davis said, this is just on the cusp of.
Hey, hold on 1 second. I hate to do this on live radio, but there they are. They just came in. Yeah, come on in. Step up. Good, but I'm live. No problem. I just told everybody, you brought me something? How nice. Thank you. All right. Thank you. You can set it down anywhere. All right. So Pittsburgh Power just brought a delivery to me. More equipment to get me to improve my audio quality here. I still have a couple ideas. I kind of like this whole more casual approach to the whole thing anyway. Here's another interesting thing about the grass thing. So we know that ungulates, I think that's the right word, animals with hooves, I think they're called ungulates, cows, deer, those kind of things, goats. Somebody will correct me if I'm not right. They can eat grass. That's what they should be eating. But they should not be eating the seeds of grasses either.
No. In fact, what's funny is
we feed them the grain, which is the seed of the grass. It's so close, but it's so totally different. They can't digest that. And that's why they have all the issues with they need antibiotics and all the other crap. But it's weird that they can eat the grass, but not the seeds of grasses. We can't eat either one.
Well, here's what's funny, Kevin, like in the cows, so they give them corn, but most people don't realize exactly what that means. It's not like they're taking dried corn and putting it with their feed. If you did that to a cow cannot digest that. That would just come out the other end. So what they do is they grind the corn to fine powder, so then it's more assimilable into their digestive system. And that's the way that is prepared for them. So that they can digest it.
And it seems to me, again, I'm not really up on this topic a lot. I know a little bit, but it seems to me like if we were just to feed them straight corn, I've even heard that it will ferment so much in one of their stomachs that, like, you could almost blow the cow up. Like, I think I heard stories of, like, they, like, cut a hole right through the side of the cow into the stomach to relieve that. Is that true?
For certain things, that is true. And, like even, like deer, antelope, elk, never meant to eat corn. But, what's funny with them is that, and this happened in my state, A lot of people around where I live want to feed the deer and they give them corn, but these deer here are all around agriculture, so they've been eating those products forever through their generations. So
right.
There was a die-off of some elk that got into corn, and that's exactly what happened to them, because when their digestive systems are not accustomed to eating that, that'll kill them. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And in agriculture for cows, each farm has their own nutritionalist. At least the big farms, and they have multiple. So think of this, Kevin. It's like building a race car. Trying to get the maximum horsepower and torque out of an engine, and you have the top mechanics to do that. On mass farms, they do the same thing with cows.
Yeah, good point.
The nutritionists try to get the maximum production, and there's been a lot of farms where I live where they just kind of get that wrong, and they wind up killing a lot of cows.
Well, here's another way to look at it. We could actually say that eating grain for a human being will kill you. It just does it really, really slowly. But it will kill you.
Right.
That's not human food. We shouldn't be eating it. It kills you slowly. We're probably killing those cows, but they don't really care because that's the whole point of it anyway. It's not like they need to keep the cow alive for 3 or 4 years. They don't even want to. They want to raise that thing and fatten it as quick as we can. So we're probably just about killing it with that diet, but it doesn't matter.
Well, Kevin, you want to hear something funny in regards to that? Theoretically, dog food, you should be able to eat, theoretically, right?
Yeah.
But on every package of dog food, it says not for human consumption. Do you want to know why that is? I know why that is. Do you want to know why?
I'm going to guess because I think I remember reading this a long time ago. Isn't it like loaded with penicillin or something?
Well, here's what happens. So I met, long story, but I met a guy that had a business where they would drive around and they would pick up dead animals or dying animals, and they would slaughter them for dog food, right? And all the dog food companies would buy all this meat product. The problem is that there's no FDA, USDA certification, so all these animals can be loaded with whatever drugs.
Okay.
They can be loaded with penicillin. If the animal was sick, whatever drugs they gave that animal could be loaded. And it's not just cows. It's cows, chickens, pigs. They do everything.
Right.
So they grind all that stuff up, and then they go, here, it's good for your dog, but it ain't good for you. I mean,
so
that is such a red flag.
You're right.
I mean, my wife and I, we 2 years we started feeding our dogs basically better than most people. We give them meat. That's what we give them.
Yeah,
and
exactly. The other crazy thing I just realized, a lot of the raw, like freeze-dried, we feed Diesel a lot of raw freeze-dried treats, like freeze-dried organs, liver and all that. He loves them. But on every bag, the warning goes even further. It tells you as a human, after you've touched these, you need to go wash your hands. I'm like, wait a minute. This is clean organ meats. It's been freeze-dried. The only reason I'm thinking they're even putting that on there is because it's raw, and they're so worried that our microbiome is such I don't wash my hands after I handle that stuff. My system should be able to handle that.
My wife and I have been raising Rottweilers since early 80s, right? Long time. And we've had like 14 of them now. So the last 10 years or so, we've had a bout of dogs having just weird health issues. Can't explain why. And so we switched to meat, and we'll break it up with rice and some a little vegetable. So got the dog at the vet the one day, and I tell the vet what I'm feeding my dog, and she looks at me and she says, "You can't feed him that. he needs to be on a balanced diet with vitamins and minerals. I go,
oh my God.
I go, wait a minute. These dogs are descendants of wolves. I go, do you
Exactly.
know have you ever seen what a wolf eats and what it eats first? It eats the organs in the gut. I go, are you kidding me?
If you even supplement your dog's diet, like I said, with just the freeze-dried organ snacks, that dog is getting way, way more nutrition than it ever got in all that garbage dog food that's on the market.
And I know this sounds funny, but this is like a little test because you can control the environment 100%. Your dog, right? Take your dog and give them a raw meat diet and see what happens to them. They completely change. If you want to learn about nutrition and what happens to your body, bowel movements and all that, that is simple. My dog, when we fed them packaged food, 2 big piles a day. Now he's once every 3 days. Once every 3 days, he's healthy, doing phenomenal.
Yeah. You just brought up something interesting, because when I was doing the research on these dog companies, is it really good quality? Is it truly, organ meat? I was doing all of that, and here's something they test with dogs that I honestly wish we would test with humans. And it's a little gross, so I'll warn people, but, it's no big deal. So when they test dog food, one of the tests they do is exactly what you were talking about. They absolutely measure precisely the amount of food the dog took in, and then they precisely measure the amount of what comes out the other end. And the idea is the less that comes out the other end, the better quality that food is, because your body's actually using it for something. I thought, well, what a simple thing that is so telling. We've never done that with humans that I'm aware of.
And here's what's funny, Kevin. So if you want to see, like I have one dog that likes to eat twigs and sticks, right? Well, you can tell right away that their digestive system does not digest that, right?
Exactly,
it comes out,
right.
So, it's a little crude, but that really kind of gives you an idea on how digestion works. And, their system's a little bit different than ours, but not that much different.
No.
Yeah,
they're
different.
pretty similar. That's why we were able to live together so well.
And what's funny is because you can control 100% what they eat, right?
Exactly.
And if you have a dog that's overweight or got health problems, you change their diet. It is the most dramatic thing that you will ever see. And
it's pretty incredible.
It is, and it's the same for humans. It's the same thing. Take out the carbs, take out all grains, and it's pretty. It's funny, Kevin, because the body's very, very complex, but it doesn't take a very, very complex diet to fuel it.
The statement I made when I had Dr. Davis on the show, I said, you and I could, get so geeked out about all this stuff happening in the body, and then we could throw in, Dr. Perlmutter, and he'll really complicate things with what's going on in the brain. And then we could bring in, Jason Fung, a nephrologist, and he'll complicate what's happening in the kidney. And we could just go on and on and on. And the complexity is insane. But I said, in reality, the user's manual for the human body shouldn't be more than 1 page. It's really that.
You are right on. And I think what people get in the weeds on, you don't have to get so complex,
Not at all. The only reason to do that, to even read all of those books, is if you want to understand what's happening underneath. But a lot of people might just say, well, hell, I don't need to know that. Just tell me how to live, and I can live better and just move on with my life. I don't need to know all that stuff.
Kevin, one stat in his new book, and maybe it was in the old book, but they talked about products in a store, right? Like 10,000 products. Do you know what that number is? Years ago. You know what that number is today? 60,000 different products in stores.
The first number that popped to mind
60,000.
was going to be 65,000. I thought it was right in that range. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
That's insane. And here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing. They all have the same base ingredients: wheat, corn, and soy.
Yeah. And just about everything has got high fructose corn syrup in it. So, I mean, you might as well just drink poison.
You might as well. Hey, Tim, great stuff. Got to cut you loose. I do want to grab one more call. We have gone over a little bit, but I got started late, so I have an excuse. And I want to get to Murray in BC. Murray, welcome.
Morning, Kevin. Good to talk to you. I guess it's probably afternoon for you now, or approaching.
It's 4 minutes past. Yep.
There you go. Well, enjoy your lunch. You've been getting a lot of calls lately about the new X15 Cummins, how they instantly want to hold back when you take your foot off the throttle.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. There's an easy fix for that. Just double tap the accelerator, and it goes into coast mode.
Really?
Yep.
You know,
we have a whole fleet of those pieces of crap. And I've driven a number of them, and yeah, you just double tap the accelerator, just a quick tap, and it'll let go.
So for all the gun nuts, that's easy to remember. Just double tap.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
Right? Yeah. That's an easy way.
You don't have to punch it. Yeah, you don't have to punch it so hard that you start banging the accelerator around. Or banging the driveline. Just a tap. Yeah. Just tap. Just enough so that the computer sees that you're accelerating, and just double tap and it'll let go and coast.
Interesting, because this kind of has been on my mind, that all of the stuff in our lives these days, our cars, our phones, hell, our refrigerators, our washers, our dryers, all of them are becoming so complicated. And I know they're trying to give us more and more features, which is nice. You know, it's better than it used to be. Now look what it does. It does this all by itself. The problem I'm starting to see, and we're dealing with this challenge as we build out our new technology, our own app, our own streaming sites, our own recorded sites, our own podcasts. Everything today is you can do so many things so many different ways, and everything has settings now, and you go in and you have to, set things up right the first way. But the problem is, most of us, with most of the things we do, whether it's software or a device or an appliance, we probably only use about 10% of the power because we don't know all of that stuff is even there.
Yeah, I agree.
They bring out a new phone update, and hell, they just updated it 6 months ago. But the new phone update, you go and read the material, and there were 3,000 changes made. Come on. Really? And you're going to do it again in 6 more months. How do I keep track of any of this stuff? How would anybody know, other than you calling and telling us on the radio, how would anybody have known that that's all you have to do? Well, the dealer will tell you, well, just read your owner's manual. Okay, but that thing's about 4,000 pages these days.
And maybe that's in there, maybe it's not. I rented one of the company trucks while mine was in the shop like a year and a half ago, and I got one of those stupid piece of crap X15s. And when I load and I pull out of the rack and onto the street, we've got kind of a downgrade, and it was always doing that. And so I would sort of feather the accelerator to sort of so it wouldn't do that. And then I discovered that if I feathered it twice, it would coast. So I tried it, and then I was my truck was in the shop again, and so I rented another one of the different truck with the X15 and discovered the same thing. Well, my kid works for a competing company that has a whole fleet of those things. And so I asked him, and he says, this drives me crazy. I said, just double tap it. And so he was driving, and he did right there. And sure enough, it let go. So it's obviously a programming issue.
Yeah, we either figure it out through accident or we use things enough, and then we go, oh, look, this is all you have to do. But everything we do now is getting so, and like, I'm one of the worst offenders. I love technology. I want to be the first one to go try everything because I think it's so cool. But it also, at some point, it can start to add a lot of stress to your life because that's a lot of stuff to try to keep track of. How does this work? How do I do that? Oh, I didn't know it did this. Look, I can do. And it's just it. Like I said, I think I remember one time if you look at a spreadsheet program, numbers on a Mac or definitely the Windows version of a spreadsheet, they say most users aren't even using 2% of the capability of that program, and yet the next version they'll add even more stuff.
Yeah, that we don't need.
And our whole life just seems to be like that. Maybe the future needs to be, okay, give me the full-blown version, or give me the the coffee maker for dummies version. Just give me a nice, simple machine. Maybe it's still electronic. Maybe it still connects to my Wi-Fi. But do I really need all that stuff? I think we need simplified versions of a lot of this stuff.
I agree. All right, my friend. I'll let you go and find some lunch and play with your new electronics. It's my turn to load anyway, so.
There you go. Thanks for the call. Great stuff. We are going to wrap this up. So thanks for all the support. Thanks to our new listeners. We're excited about that. I'll find out how all of that went when I get off the air. Oh, you know what? Angie just sent me over a quick question from email. So I'll go ahead and answer this. And just know you can post questions up on the two sites, healthytribe.com and truckingtribe.com. Maybe we'll even start a post at the beginning of every show. So if you want to type in questions, I'll do that. And I can usually get through a lot more topics that way, too. Here's the question Angie sent me. Will taking a cough drop, sugar-free Ricola, or toothpaste disrupt my fast? If so, what could you recommend as an alternative? So there's a lot of questions about fasting. Will coffee break my fast? Will NDK coffee break my fast? Technically, anything, I think the way they claim is anything with calories, or there was even a certain number of calories, maybe it's like 10. And honestly, I'm not even sure how they really figured all this out. Here's the way I would look at this. Let's not get too crazy about a cough drop or brushing our teeth. I'm not going to worry about if that has any kind of an impact on my fast or not. I really doubt that it could. And even if it does, it's not like it could take away 100% of the benefit. Something this small, if it took away 5% of the benefit, I'd be shocked. So let's not get too crazy. For me, when I fast, I almost never do a true fast. I almost always keep my coffee in the morning and my bone broth in the afternoon. That, to me, is a really good fast. I still get tons of benefits from it. Energy levels go up, brain gets clearer. So I would not get really crazy about, does something really small break my fast? All right. So, again, thanks to the new listeners. We kind of gave you a little taste of what the show is like. Normally, we will move through callers much faster. Right now, it helps me to kind of slow down the show a little bit so I can kind of talk and kind of work on the technology and some other things at the same time. So I was really taking a lot of time with calls. Plus, on this format, we just don't have the kind of call volume we used to. Some days, it's kind of hit or miss. The other day, I couldn't even get to all the calls in time. Today, we just didn't have a lot, although we had a lot of listeners. That's growing. We really appreciate it. We will continue to make this experience better and better. And a lot of people are already enjoying the access to all of the recorded shows, and they never go away. So if you want access to those, go to healthytribe.com or truckingtribe.com, and you'll be able to find all the shows organized, and you can listen whenever you want. We're going to wrap this up. So we will see you back here tomorrow. The schedule for tomorrow, I will open with my hour of general Q&A, and then we will go into an hour of the Power Hour, and it should be fun. And this is another reason I want to go work on my technology. I think with this new board setup I have, I think I can bring both Ethan and Pete into the coach with me and have them here. And Bruce is out west, so we'll have to get him on the phone. But I want to test that, so I need to work on that a little this afternoon as well. We will see you back here tomorrow. Be safe, be profitable, be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.